Hello everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Now, in this video, I'm going to be covering a few questions that I did not cover in my Taehyung palm reading. There were lots of pressing questions that were emailed to me, and one person emailed me lots of interesting questions as well as some clear images. And the first question, is there a possibility for him to be in a toxic relationship first? Is this person very rich and powerful? Will there be divorce, cheating, abuse, and then meeting his desired person? Well, our hands really show us information pertaining to ourselves and how we are affected by that relationship. So until he is in that relationship, it's going to be difficult to really talk about the specifics. And I can't talk about that person, who they are and what they're like. Is it toxic? It's certainly possible to determine the effects of that relationship and come to some sort of conclusion. But I'm not really going to be able to answer, will there be divorce, cheating, abuse, until they're in that relationship. However, it is possible for me to see here. I've got a good, clear image of his right hand here as he's feeding his adorable, beautiful little doggy. Now, these little horizontal transverse creases above the heart line here, below the little finger, are known as marriage lines. They are not necessarily marriages at all. They should be called relationship lines, sometimes referred to as union lines, attachment lines, and you can see here there are several short relationships. There is a strong relationship at 35. It could result in marriage. I don't know about that. It's not all that long and strong. I think it will be a meaningful relationship. I don't know if it'll necessarily be marriage. Now, at the age of, let's say, 45 to 50, there is a very profound relationship. And this is the most meaningful, and I would think certainly marriage. And you can see it here having this effect on his the sunshine in his life, all things positive, the success, achievements, feelings of joy, happiness, and prosperity. Now, when a marriage line reaches over and touches and influences and nourishes, enriches the sun line, it is a really positive sign, and it's a sign of a person entering into a relationship with someone who is potentially famous, and their fame, their status enriches their own um, status in some way, and probably likewise. Now, the thing is, I can't really see all that much because the kibble is in the way. If this line, crosses the sun line, it becomes then an obstacle towards that happiness and that success. If it then crosses and touches the career, it is certainly providing and boosting a person's career, but might well have an impact on their happiness. So it's still positive, but not as positively beneficial in a lot of respects. If it goes beyond the career line, then it's an obstacle towards both. And in fact, it is a person who is involved in their life who is not supporting them, is not helpful, who is certainly um, of a high status, famous perhaps, but they're not enhancing their life. They're not good for them. And that's what could be. I would think it's the former. I think it's the first interpretation, although I can't be certain because there's kibble in the way. I can't believe I said that. I'm just amazed that it's even come to this. So far, there won't be any cheating or abuse or toxic relationships that I can see, but there will be a strong and meaningful one at 35, and then again 45, in between from 45 to 50. That's when he will really meet, I believe, the love of his life. And I have to say, lines change all the time, particularly these minor lines. Now, although this is a line that's kind of traveling across a big part of the hand, it's still a minor line, and it can and still likely will change drastically by the time he reaches that age. So, a lot of what I'm saying here, it really doesn't have all that much relevance until he's in that relationship. I don't think it matters all that much at the moment. How do you see Taehyung's solo career progressing? Will it thrive? And what challenges or successes might he encounter on his journey? Now, although this is a blurry image, it's the right hand, so it's showing us the external. And in terms of success, this success line, as you can see right here, admittedly, it's still very blurry, it is very prominent. And the right hand would show material success. It would show status, achievement, accolades, and you can see it really the beginnings of it here are around about 25-ish, and when it hits the heart line here, it becomes this furiously powerful and tremendously focused aspect of his life. From 53 onwards, Taehyung will be a much um, happier and better off person. And I really think he'll have the freedom at this point in his life to fully enjoy this success. A success line that is enriched by the heartline like this shows this is a sign, a key sign of someone's artistic or creative career that is enriched by a romantic relationship. So this kind of touches on that relationship I believe that he will fall into at the age of around about 45 to 50. And then it kind of it really enhances actually what he finds important in terms of his success in his life, which is finding a meaningful, long-lasting, committed, faithful relationship. Someone who is on a same level as him, who has those same priorities, and that's that same emotional intelligence and awareness, and that I think is what will happen. So I strongly feel he will be in a very committed, long-lasting relationship at around that time, and and essentially that is when he will come be at his happiest in life. Success is just so subjective and means different things to very different people. And to Taehyung, it doesn't mean money. It doesn't mean power or, making a name for himself, reputation, glory. These aren't things that these are not in on the top of his list of priorities. For him, it's about finding meaning and purpose. It's about connecting, and it's about love. And and this really is kind of at the heart of the problem why I wasn't really able to address this in the initial reading, because he doesn't have much of a fate line. A lot like Jimin. He has an ability to carve his own destiny. When I look at the hands of very famous, very successful people, often I see a fate line that cuts the palm in two, like the spine of a book. And this shows someone who is on a set course, who cannot veer off their destined path. I don't see that with Taehyung. I see a feeling of it's like Jimin. There's a lacking of satisfaction through what he's doing. I mean, sure, he might enjoy it, but it's not aligning with his personal priorities and values. The good news is he feels entirely in control of his own destiny. It's not as though he's being told what to do and he's just doing it. And the same for Jimin. So it really shows you collectively already that BTS have a great deal of control over the way in which they live their lives and what they're doing. Now, I can't really see all that much in terms of his right hand, but his left hand here, you can see the fate line, and it rises upwards, and it comes from Neptune, and it's the place of captivating an audience, hypnotizing and engaging with, inspiring the masses, and makes sense. There's a lot of water in his hand, and it's on a set course. It's doing well. It's happy. It's productive. It is fulfilling. There's a sense of fulfillment, but where it gets difficult is 35. There's a real struggle here at 35. And it looks as though obviously he's going to still be doing something. He's going to still be working and doing something, but the faintness, the lack of a fate line altogether from in this 18-year period from 35 to 53, it shows that there is his it shows there's going to be a feeling of a lack of satisfaction from the work he's doing at this time. Now, again, his hand corresponds with what I've already mentioned. From his 50s onwards, there is a significant kind of reigniting of his purpose, his path in life. So that's a significant hurdle for you. Certainly, 35. Something's going to happen there, and I don't know what'll happen. Maybe the band will break up at that time. I don't know. How far away is that? 6 years. I can only really provide clarity with clarity, and this is not clear, is it? And it looks to me as though he's still going to work, but there's going to be a great change at 35. 42 might see a significant obstacle of some sort. This is probably likely related to a family crisis of some sort. And this career, it does continue onwards, but again, it's not as fulfilling. It's not as positive. It's not as happy. I have to say that these years he's living at the moment are some of the most memorable of his life, and he'll look back on them fondly. But the best years are certainly yet to come for him. What qualities do you believe Taehyung is drawn to in a woman? What kind of woman do you think he will attract? Would she come from a rich or powerful background, or would other traits be more important? Well, palmistry is all about concluding from several signs in the hands. Now, being that I believe it looks like he's destined to meet someone much later on in life, 45 to 50, who is likely going to be very famous, very wealthy. I don't know about powerful, but I do think influential, certainly, and probably aligns with some of his. Um, there's going to be similarities, I would have thought. Just it makes sense that they're going to be an entertainer as well of some variety, possibly. It makes sense they're going to have some things in common. What qualities do I believe he's drawn to? He's drawn to people who are um, emotionally aware, emotionally intelligent, sensitive, like himself. He's drawn to people who are grounded, though. People who are, do you know what? He's got a water hand, this long palm and long fingers. He would best suit someone with a square palm and short fingers, someone who is practical, very grounded, water and earth go well together because earth needs a bit of inspiration, needs a bit of nourishment, not too much, don't want to be flooded. And water needs to give. It needs to see that what they're doing is having an effect because in that respect, it heals them. Water needs to constantly move and is adaptive and flexible, fluid. So he really requires someone who is solid, secure, stable, honest, truthful, and uh, and likes to work in routine and structure because these will complement elements and characteristics in Tai Hyung that he doesn't quite have as much himself because he's so fluid and flexible, because he is so adaptive and dreamy and emotional and intelligent and thoughtful. You know, these aren't grounded traits, but they are beautiful traits. So he really would benefit from someone who has a good amount of earth in their hands. Someone like a vet, a doctor, a farmer, a martial artist, an athlete, a director, a nurse, carer even, someone who is very grounded in the very practical and physical. That's the sort of person who he would is compatible with. Number 4, can he marry a foreigner? I don't know why I felt very sad hearing that he has to wait until 50 years of age to meet her. Will she be younger, older, or the same age? I don't know is the answer, and I can't answer that because his palms don't answer that. That's really as simple as that. I'm sorry, but I just can't answer that. I can only say what the hands say, and that's it. But, it's not that he's waiting 50 years to meet his person. As I say, I do think he will become involved in several relationships, one very meaningful one at 35, and then the significant one is at 45 to 50. It's not as though he's going to be sort of waiting lonely and helpless. There are literally a sea of people out there who would do anything to be with this man. What exactly do you mean by fantasies in relation to Tai Hyung's personal life and relationships? Does it relate to idealized or unrealistic expectations? It relates to idealized expectations. He's highly idealistic and he's highly imaginative. He's in his own abstract thoughts quite a lot of the time. He's a daydreamer. He's a massive daydreamer and a romantic. So there is a danger here of him falling head over heels and getting hurt. So, I mean, there is caution here though, because when you see a hand that has a lifeline that is quite strongly attached to a headline like this, it does show caution. It shows someone who is, the mind's energies is quite literally tied to the life, to the environment. So they're making wise decisions. So although he wears his heart on his sleeve and he's highly idealistic and he might get hurt, at the same time he's not going to rush headlong into relationships. He's going to think, and he thinks long and hard about things as well, because that's what long-fingered folk do, particularly when they're very naughty. He's highly analytical as well. So he's really thinking deep all the time, processing all the time, and breaking down information. And a lot of the information that comes through for him is very emotional and quite spiritual as well. He is a big fantasizer and a daydreamer, and this is partly why he's so able to inspire us with his deep and powerful imagination. But there is something of a danger there of his imagination taking control. He needs to always maintain some semblance of control over it rather than the other way around. And once he meets his person, he'll know that there'll be that right fit there. The ingredients will all line up because all of his positive characteristics will be enriched and all of the negative ones will be, supported. And likewise. And that's the beauty of a combination of a water earth mix. Now, no one's perfect, right? No relationship is perfect. There's always going to be some difficulties and arguments. He might at times suffocate a little bit emotionally and just sort of flood them with, you know, outbursts, pouring his heart out, and in turn there might be some um, coldness, from those earthy traits once he's involved in that. Because I guarantee that at 45 to 50, that person who he ends up with will have a square palm and shortish fingers. Um, and it's about that compatibility and making sure that each other has the right amount of space. Water hands need to protect themselves, and earth hands need time to manage the highly flexible and adaptive um, fluidity of water hands. Number six, I've come across some readers who have speculated about Taehyung's possibly being prone to addictions. It's strange that even a person like him would have financial issues with that amount of wealth. Absolutely. Those readers have said that it's drugs or sex addiction. Can he overcome them? So drugs and or sex addiction in the hands is actually fairly easy to spot. I don't see that with Taehyung. I don't see that. Now, initially, when I did JK's palm reading, I actually had Hyung's palm in the mix thrown in there. I made an absolute mistake, and I mentioned that he had a strange relationship with food, and actually, that's relevant to Chai Hyung because I got the hand wrong. So he does have. There's a potential kind of coping mechanism there with controlling. Um, there's something of an unusual relationship there with food when it comes to him. You can see the space here between the first and second finger. The first and the fourth fingers, the gaps here. This is classic. It's very common with water hands as well, because there's that heightened awareness, that heightened sensitivity. Um, you know, there's greater propensity towards mental health issues, and the coping mechanisms that come with it are very often um, actually drug taking, drinking, um, and strange relationships with food as a way to kind of control, to find some semblance of control. I don't see drug taking. We would be seeing a very obvious line that flicks right over into Luna from the lifeline, or even inside of Venus, flicking right over an escape line, a toxicity line, a poison line, a drug addiction line, as it's sometimes referred to, an escape line. We don't see any of that. And also, The Mount of Luna might be quite sort of raised and maybe even a little bit red. The basal phalanx of Jupiter would be very widened, and actually it's a little pinched in. It's not thin, you know. There is something of a need to control there, but that's more around the details because he's such a nitpicker. You know, he's got such a keen eye for detail, and he's so he's taking in all of the information all the time. The fingers are so long. He's processing a lot of information. So being so heightened in terms of awareness, psychically as well, it makes sense to want to control, and that's why we see a strong, I would say, basal phalanx of Jupiter. But I don't see womanizing, um, drug addiction. I don't see sex addiction. If he had a really short Jupiter finger, and if this was really wide, if the heart line rose, flung itself straight up towards Saturn, if the Mercury finger was, really short, then these things would add up a bit more. I'm not seeing any of that. I'm not seeing the escape line either. So no, I don't think that he has those. Yes, I agree with you. The money scenario, the money issue sounds odd to me as well. Um, there could be feelings of insecurity around money because of um, some obstacle in his career, and that's at 35, I would say, way off yet. So there we have it. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope that's cleared some things up there. If you have any further questions, please do ask away. In the comments if you like, that's fine. Thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe. By the way, if you would like a palm reading with myself, please do book one on my website. I offer money back to anyone who is unsatisfied with a palm reading. I offer the same thing to everyone. And so far, no one has, as of yet, requested a refund. Thank you all as well so much for all of your comments coming in. I hugely appreciate all of your input, all of your feedback, and all of your thoughts, as well as concerns. I take them all into great consideration. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you next time.